You'll get there one day, Ryan. I believe in you.
This week, Lindsey doesn't miss a beat with dispatches from both Air, Water, and the exclusive Slate Truck launch. Dan discovers that he's not really a Bronco Raptor guy, despite his hairy chest and tough guy demeanor. I get bougie in Boulder with the Fuelfed set, and we debate the car we'd choose from hell's own rental counter. It's That Car Show. The kids are all right, and we are coming for your forerunners, Eli.
Right, well, welcome to this week's episode of That Car Show. The gang is all here, but I wanted to start off by introducing a phrase and a little bit of information. In the UK, we have a phrase called parish notices. What does that mean? Well, that means it's a traditional British phrase that's often used to make a few announcements before things start. So in British tradition, I'm going to start with some parish notices. The very first one, you guys will be using it in all the meetings that you go to, and it'll be like, what's this? I've become more British.
It beats housekeeping.
Yeah.
It does.
Right?
It really does. I love it. All right, let's hear it.
I want to hear where you've used it. So firstly, on a serious note, on the 28th of April, the legendary engine builder Ed Pink passed away. And we just wanted to send our respects. I don't think any of us actually knew Ed himself, but we were familiar with his work. We were aware that he had a reputation and was known as the old master. I think anyone in life, if you get a reputation, you get some sort of recognition as being called the old master. You know that you've really kind of hit your craft and made it. We didn't know him, but we did know the impact of his work. You know, he built engines for IndyCar, for Porsche, some of the Kramer engines, Interscope engines, and more recently, he worked on the Singer DLS. Is that right?
Yep.
I always get that phrase.
And the Emery cars.
The Emery cars.
You know?
So we send our respects to his family.
Yeah.
He also passed away at the age of 94. So, you know, as we would say in England, a fantastic innings, referring to cricket. So that was the first one. The second parish notice, and I'm going to wear a dog collar next week, I think, is that we had a lot of people on the social medias either give us feedback, they shared some of our posts, and I just wanted everyone to know that didn't go unnoticed. We're incredibly grateful of everyone who, you know, has shown, you know, real interest in this podcast really early on. So thank you. Please keep going. Please, you know, continue to subscribe and add comments, reviews, all that sort of stuff really helps us. But thank you for everyone so far.
Right. And
Is this where I say amen?
Yes, it is. And I wanted to say specific thank you to my friend Wendy, her Instagram is Brit Porsche Girl. She has been an immediate early supporter and just so genuine. And I think friend of the show, Tori Alonso, as well. Like they've both been immediately on board and genuine and very helpful, and we appreciate it.
So you said Wendy?
Yes.
So Wendy's going to get the parish notices straight away without any explanation, isn't she?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and Wendy lives in Sheffield.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Do they make watches up there?
We've heard. I mean, I think we know a guy, right?
By proxy, yeah.
So last week was a big week in the car world, and in particular, a new manufacturer came to the table, and they brought potentially what is going to be one of the most revolutionary cars to market, to awareness. And we were lucky enough that Lindsey was there on site, got an invite to the press launch. So Lindsey, tell us all about Slate Automotive.
So Slate Automotive, they had their reveal on Thursday night. It was at the Long Beach airport in one of the warehouses there. And it was very, you know, cloak and dagger. You had to respond with a password to RSVP.
You didn't even tell us, for the record.
I didn't tell anybody. I had my dear friend Derek Powell. Everybody knows Derek Powell. I feel like there needs to be a bell.
Hey, Derek.
When we say Derek Powell. So Derek and I knew that we were going. He was the only person that I even acknowledged that I was going to. Everybody else found out after. So anyway, was thrilled to be there, thrilled to be included. Our friend Kat Saville, who was at the Peterson, included me. She was at Tesla. Now she's at Slate. And so they had several of their executives, the head of design, Tisha Snyder, Jeremy Snyder, who's the CCO. And Tisha, I don't know that that's her last name now that I think about it, because they're not related. So they may have the same last name, and I didn't pick up on it. So I apologize if that's not the right name, but she's the head of design. And it was really fun to see a woman speaking. And then their CEO is a woman, Chris Barman. And they all spoke about the company and the mission, and that they want to bring an EV option to the under 25,000 range of the market, because there's a lot of people that would be interested, but so far EVs have been inaccessible to them simply because of the cost. And so it's under 25,000 after government rebates. The trucks are all assembled in the US, and they have 4 different variations. They have a single cab, it's like a short bed pickup truck, but then you can either configure it and have Slate assemble it the way that you want it, or you can buy the pickup truck itself and buy the parts and put it together yourself also, which is an interesting concept.
Will that still be under warranty?
So that was part of the discussion afterwards with several of my friends who are automotive journalists in LA was, if you have people that are installing it themselves, how does that impact, or does it impact, can you still claim that you have a 5-star crash rating? Like if you're not the one installing it, you know, where does it change to, well, this was an aftermarket part. So that's one of the early stage kind of like, okay, there's definitely some questions that people have, but in general, I think everybody loves the idea of expanding the accessibility of EVs. And this one is particularly cool because it's so versatile. There's the single cab pickup truck. Then you can add a shell on the back and a second row seat, and it makes it kind of a new Bronco 2-row SUV, very similar. Yes, I said Bronco. What are we, 3
Come
minutes
on,
in, and I've already
sleeping on
said
the job
Bronco?
here.
This week.
Yeah.
So I'll be listening out.
Then they have another one where you can add a second row seat and basically roll bars, so it makes it kind of Wrangler-esque, or, you know, new Bronco where they make the overlanding type. Oh, we have a new buzzer this week, I think. And then the last one reminded me of either the big Range Rover or Range Rover Sport, because it has a cab on the back, but it's sloping. So it's another 2-row SUV, but the lines are a little more luxury SUV. So there's all different configurations. You can add, you know, different levels of trim. You can design a wrap. You can have Slate apply it. You can do it yourself.
It's a modular sort of take it to
It's
the
very
extreme.
modular. Yeah. And so you can design it to fit your life and what you need. So one of the things that they talked about is that, you know, the way they describe it is that they're built in the U.S., assembled in the U.S.
And not just the U.S., but Indiana. That's like extra U.S.
Right,
Just saying,
exactly.
Extra America. Yeah.
Ultra America, exactly. So they say that they are manufactured here. One of the points of discussion afterwards among the people in attendance was some of the parts, the U.S. has not had the capability to actually make those parts in 30 years.
Yeah, but that's anything, right?
Right, exactly. So it's a little bit semantics because they are being assembled here, which is super cool. And, you know, that, like, I love to see that because obviously, hopefully it helps create jobs and all of that. I think that's only positive. So it's more like you can parse out what your definition of manufactured versus assembled.
Right.
And then, yeah, I mean, definitely some early stage questions, but their team, I mean, listening to them was really inspiring.
Yeah.
They all have, like, several of the executives and a lot of the team have EV experience, especially at Tesla. So they've been in the space for a long time. They've seen an organization like that grow. And I think they're applying everything they've learned, you know, what to do and what not to do. And they just really seemed excited to bring this to the market. And it was really, really well done. The excitement, you know, everybody was very palpable. Some people had seen spy shots. They dropped one in Venice, California the week before. And again, you know, I'm not telling anybody. So I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? So I sent it to Derek and I'm like, is this what I think it is? What's going on here?
How big is this thing? Like, what is this?
It's not big. Like,
scene here.
It's tiny.
Because I'm sort of under the impression it's the size of like one of the old school Ford Rangers or something, if not the new one.
I think
it's
in between. It's like a light truck size.
Yeah. Okay.
Like is it the Suzuki Jimny, the new one?
Not that small, right?
It's not that small, but it's definitely it's light truck class. Like, it's not a full size pickup truck, and I think that is going to I think that's going to help because it may have a broader audience. Not everybody wants to drive a full-size pickup truck, or doesn't need it necessarily.
Dan, can you ask our off-camera assistant when the last car available in the U.S. was where you could opt for roll-down windows versus electric windows? Because I believe that you can actually get roll-down windows. That's how functional this thing is. Yeah.
That I don't remember.
Yeah, because
but it's possible.
like this is very much a form follows function vehicle, probably more than just about anything else we've seen. I think we have a lot of vehicles that are designed to look that way, right? But this really is, I wouldn't say it's the prettiest thing in the world, but I kind of love it for that.
Right. It's sort of,
Right?
it's like, it's so functional. It's cute.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah.
and the size, it's very adorable. And it's like the little engine that could, because it's like, I'm here and I'm super capable. What's not to love? And they had a great swag bag at the event, and we got,
What was in this swag bag?
well, we got,
For those of us who weren't invited.
that was part of the mystique. They said in the RSVP form, they said, if we were to surprise you with something with like your name or whatever, what would you
Okay.
put on it and what size are you?
Oh,
So we got jackets with whatever name or phrase or
Okay.
whatever you wanted embroidered
Okay.
on them. And then we got Slate hats and then a really fun little activity book, which my junior car reviewer immediately took. And then, and just there were a lot of, who's who of LA automotive media, Mark Vaughn, who does a radio show and he's written for Auto Week, and then Derek Powell, obviously, and John and Mira Choldenko and Jeff Glucker of Hooniverse and Sean Winograd from Car and Driver and I think Motor Trend maybe, and Kat, and then a lot of people.
Fantastic.
That was great.
So
So what did you learn, Dan?
yeah.
Well, I kind of feel like we should be paying our researchers. I know we're not at the minute, so let's maybe all chip together and tip them a little bit. You won't believe the last time. Let's just start with a year. So the last car you could buy with roll-down windows, the car stopped selling in 2023. So up to 2023,
Okay.
you could still buy a car with roll-down windows.
It's a
new
car versus a light truck.
Well, I mean, it's a Wrangler Sport, so it's both, right?
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
that makes-
that
that
makes
makes
sense. Yeah. Okay. Huh, interesting.
but a
Okay, so
couple-
you could buy a new car, 2023, brand new,
Yeah,
roll down windows.
a
Okay.
Wrangler Sport. And an
Wrangler
honourable mention to the Chevrolet Spark, the base LS trim, had manual windows but was discontinued in 2022.
Have either of you driven a Chevy Spark?
I have not. Have you?
And those
I'd rather walk.
stuck around way too long. 2022. They were. Would you say, Dan?
I think I would rather walk.
Well, no. That's it. I think that is a viable alternative.
Fair
If you've ever,
assessment?
they're tiny. If you've ever been in a Lotus Elise, if you're driving,
Yeah.
your shoulder will be next to the shoulder of your passenger, and that's the only
Right.
other car that I've ever driven and had that experience.
Well,
They're
isn't that what
just-
they said about the Gordon Murray car, though? That when Dario was driving it, I know Johnny said I thought he had to put his arm around Dario almost to sit in the passenger seat.
Well, that's different, Lindsay.
No, aren't they?
You're in
creepy?
a Gordon Murray car. I'll do whatever. I'll sit in someone's lap in the Gordon Murray car, but a Chevy Spark.
Right. Did you ever think you'd hear a Chevy Spark and a Gordon Murray car in the same sentence?
Not at all. Not at all.
So it was great that you were there, Lindsay, and
it's cool.
It was cool to be at the forefront of the action.
Happy to
Can we-
represent the team, right?
I do have
Yeah.
more questions, though, if I may.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is a rear-wheel drive only vehicle, at least at first, or can you opt in a front, like an all-wheel drive module? Or
So they didn't go
Just to
into that
come-
much detail
okay.
at the launch, but so I don't know about that specifically.
because I'm thinking,
Great question.
rear-wheel drive electric truck donuts, right? Yeah. That's-
What's not to love?
Yeah, anything about it where you think they missed the mark? Like, was it? I'm shocked that they kept it the secret that they did, really, for as long as they
It's
did.
really remarkable because
Yeah,
I know
that's worth something.
certain people have known about it for years at this point.
Yeah, like
So-
you.
Well, no, yes, you're absolutely right. That's exactly correct. No, I think as they start to roll out that those types of things, you might go, oh, they could have done that differently. But at least for right now, because it is still, it's not a concept, like they will
Yeah.
be building them, but because it's not live yet, everything so far seems like it's aligned with
Yeah,
what they are trying to deliver.
And hella timing with the tariffs, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
It's probably a conversation there for future
Yeah,
episode.
the man can build a rocket and launch a car, huh?
There we go.
Right.
And that's political as we're going to get. It reminds me like if IKEA made cars.
Yeah, it's that idea. It's like you take only what you need almost,
Yeah.
and you can
Basics.
like heavily configurable to whatever your purpose is. I mean, that part of it is incredible because there's
Yeah.
so many people that have different needs and jobs, and to find something that you can customize exactly for what you want, that's the only vehicle like that new right now without having to do a bunch of work.
I think they're great. I'd love to have one as a third car, go to the hardware store and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to throw a bag of mulch into the Porsche or the Polestar, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I
bring,
just
bring
realized
on the Slate.
we talked so much about, rebodying when Logan was on and how much that happened.
Right.
And I'm sure you could do a version of rebodying with the Slate. Like, so this might be the new coach build.
Wouldn't even have to be a truck, right?
No, like you could decide for whatever reason, I don't need the pickup truck right now, or maybe
Yeah.
you can go back and forth.
Yeah.
And that would mean that Ryan would have to update his article about convertible electrics, maybe.
The master of the Segway.
There we go. I got it in there.
Nice
So are we
done.
getting, is it $10 per mention of the fact that he's a published writer? Is that how this is going to work?
Yeah. Make
Yeah.
it if you speak it, it's so, right?
There we go. I think that works. That works.
Manifesting, baby, all the way.
Now, in Denver, I think there was a launch. Is that right, Ryan? You attended the launch of, it was a kickoff. Was it Fuelfed kickoff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where have I
So
been?
with one good link, I then do a bad link, right?
I love Colorado. Not a whole lot of new car, launches here, though. Apparently, I know Slate Motors was like Denver, LA, Denver, LA.
Hotly contested debate about
Hotly
where to
contested.
do it.
Yeah, you know how much I love Fuelfed, and Fuelfed is this group that I've been a member of since I was the very beginning back in Chicago. Now they have an arm down in Fort Lauderdale, and then Mike Burrows started up Fuelfed Boulder out here a few years ago. And for a group that's still kind of under the radar, it was a huge turnout. We had a beautiful day. I think this was the first year that they did this with the blessing of the city, right? Lesson learned, if you want to do something, don't ask for permission, right? If you want to build that addition to your house, you start building it, then well, now we're building it. You can't tell us to stop now. And that's kind of what they did, right? Obviously, this is a much more benign sort of, beneficial sort of event. But yeah, sure enough, they had the official barricades and a couple streets open, much more room. And the cars that show up are just incredible. Obviously, there's some good money in Boulder, right? But also the enthusiast scene is incredible, and just it's always amazing what rolls up. And just seeing, all the friends and folks you haven't seen all winter, it was just great. It was great. I only wished I'd had stickers to hand out for that car show. Those didn't arrive till today. If you want one, slide into our DMs, I guess, and we will send some off, or just find us at the next Fuelfed event, or Crystal Cove, or Exotics,
exactly.
right, in Seattle. So. But to bring it back to Fuelfed, just a great event. If you're in Colorado, I mean, it's worth the drive. It's, I think, once a month now through fall on Pearl Street in Boulder. And it was just fantastic. There was a Testarossa next to a TR, right? A 512 TR. So I've never been able to sort of compare and contrast,
And especially in
the
real
two.
life. With your own, in person.
Yeah. It's and you realize, there's some significant differences, right? Like the engine cover in the back is painted black on the 512 TR, and it's also about half the height. You don't pick up on that stuff seeing one, in isolation, right?
The lights are front. At the front, the lights are different, aren't they? The
lights are different.
Pop up to glass perspex behind.
Yeah. And then there was, what was that final 512 TR that had the twist wheels and everything? It was the really special one. I don't know what that was.
It an M?
But it was the M. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So maybe next Fuelfed there'll be one of those, and you can see them all. But just stuff you just don't see anywhere else. got a buddy who brought his Lotus Elite, right?
Ooh.
Just I don't know. That's where you'll see an Ariel Atom or a random vintage Bugatti. May or may not be drifted for Logan, but it's just
That's an elite
it's,
group.
yeah. It's one of the special events that hasn't been commercialized, right? It's still fun. It's a mature group. No one's ripping out of the lot at the end of the day. It's just a great group of like-minded people. There are people. There are that car show people, right? If you follow. So
speaking of
kudos
that
to all
car show
them.
people, you also bumped into a friend of Lindsey and mine, right?
Oh yeah, shout out. Well, a couple of them, but I think you're referring to Eric. Right? Eric
yeah.
from Dream Drives for Kids. He had the shirt on and everything, and he recognized me. I put two and two together with the shirt, and he and his wife, is it Amity? Is that
Amity, I think.
Yeah, lovely people. Really, really cool
They're
people.
I love them.
Yeah. It's such a small world sometimes, and
It really is.
they went on and on about you, Dan, and how much you've helped them with their fundraising and all that. You're too modest, so
Well,
I didn't even know half of that. But
Lindsey was there as well. I think Lindsey actually was one of the few that bid, whereas I kept my hand in my pocket.
Oh,
So,
Well, the funny part was there were a few things that really kind of hit home for me, and especially they had the one where you could just bid to put together the boxes that they give the kids that get to go do the tours. And I had my daughter with me at that event, and she started getting into it. She's like, "Mama, I want you to have this auction item. We got a bid."
yeah.
It was prompted some interesting discussions about fiscal responsibility versus charity versus what's the happy medium, and also helping people. And
Auctions are dangerous.
Well,
but you can always say it goes to a good cause.
the one that really caught my attention was the photo shoot for your car, and I bid on it, and then I immediately got outbid, which is what you hope, right? Because they're raising more money. But then my daughter said, "No, I really want you to have it," and she kept trying to raise her hand.
It's we should
Down,
probably
child,
explain
down. Yeah.
I'm like,
a
"Stop."
little bit about the actual charity because
Yes, you'd be the best one to do that, I think.
so I mean Lindsey could obviously do it as well, but so Eric has been very fortunate enough to collect a large number of fantastic cars,
Right.
but he made a decision to do something with them as opposed to just showing them off at Cars and Coffee or taking them for drives. So he got in touch with local hospitals in his area and basically said if there are children that are on a journey of sickness, so they're either fighting something terminal or long term, he wanted to put a smile on their faces. So he would turn up with one of his supercars and take the kid out for the day in the supercar. And the auction item that we're referring to is that at the end of this experience, the child gets a replica of that car as something to kind of keep them motivated, keep them thinking. And he's gone beyond that now. He's signed partnerships. We helped sort of sort out the partnership in Redmond, Lindsey and I. But there's partnerships all over the US now, and it's only getting bigger. They went to some Porsche racing at COTA with Patrick Dempsey, and he's now supporting the charity. So, Dream Drive for Kids.
And my friend Andrew Florin, who puts together the Ollie and Bob Cars and Coffee in Santa Monica, is connected with Children's Hospital in LA. So he and Eric are now connected, and we're building that. They are building that one out. So that's going to be amazing. But it's. It reminded me, listening to Eric and Amity talk about all the kids that they've met, and we all, you can imagine the impact that has not only on the child, but the whole family is impacted, especially if they're siblings too. It just changes everyone's lives. And it reminded me, the school that I've driven with up here, Performance Racing School, they used to take a team to Daytona and do the 24-hour circuit, Daytona Le Mans. And so when my daughter was a year old, we went to the Daytona 24, and I remember standing there because they raise money for Seattle Children's Hospital and the cardiac care unit. And it hit me, I'm incredibly lucky that my daughter's healthy, but people donate. I think you get involved if you've experienced something like that with your child, or if you realize how lucky you are that your child is healthy, you donate to help the families that are dealing with these situations. So I love the work that they do.
Yeah. Can you imagine, if you're a kid and you're sick and that comes into your life? I mean, it would just, I think it would just, it would be healing, right? I mean, it would be it would just change everything. You know, it's just, and they're lovely people and just a great
They really are.
organization. And yeah, so need to finally meet them.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
that's
good.
so fun.
Small world when it comes to good car people, right?
That's
Indeed.
true.
Yeah.
There were some other, I think, chance meetings though over the last week, if I'm not mistaken. I want to hear about air water, Lindsey, too, but you ran into our pal Dan McInnes.
I did. I was going to say there was a lot of like cross pollination, Pacific Northwest, California, Colorado.
Yeah.
Everybody
We
was
got
in
our
the wrong
funky
spot.
little Bermuda Triangle going on
Yeah.
here, don't we?
I know. Well, I mean, I've said it before, Crystal Cove is my favorite spot in the
Mm.
whole world. I was very lucky to grow up there in my detective trailer on the beach. And then
we need a theme song whenever that gets mentioned, right? Yeah, some bum.
Yeah. And so, I had the unique luck to be able to walk up the hill and cross PCH to one of the original Cars and Coffees in Southern California.
Awesome.
Or one of the bigger ones that then went to the Ford headquarters. But and so the shopping center is that's what's left as far as places I can go there. And there's no formal Cars and Coffee there anymore, but it's an amazing car show.
Yeah.
Any day of the week, any time. I mean, I was there Friday afternoon and, it's just unbelievable. There's a Super 90, like pulled in, and there's a Porsche Super 90 Speedster next to a 65 convertible Mustang and then an Urus and all kinds of stuff. But yes, so I got a cup of coffee and I'm walking out and I hear my name and I think, what's this? And it's Dan McInnes, of course.
And he was with our friend John Nasser as well, I think,
Yeah,
right?
it was a whole crew. There were
Yeah,
two Johns and then David Reichman, who's wonderful. Had so much fun. He's got it was his Speedster
I didn't know that. Okay.
that I had seen in the parking lot. It was so funny because Dan said, we connected and then he said, yeah, and she's on the podcast with Ryan, and everybody perked up. Well, I know Ryan. Wait a minute.
Yeah, you're being kind. But it's funny because I was walking the dog here in the neighborhood, I guess it was probably a few days before that. And who did I see but John Nasser walking down the street? And like, John, you don't live anywhere near here. He said, well, I went to go up to this place up the street. It's an ice cream shop, and he's going to walk back to his house. It's like 2 miles. It's like these guys get around,
That's so funny.
Get out more. But no, love those guys. David's a neat guy too. And
I ended up talking to him for a bit at Auto Kennel.
Okay.
The morning after Airwater, excuse me. But it was so funny. Once I saw Dan, then I realized, because I'd been going south on PCH, coming up to Newport Coast Road, Newport Coast Road, which is a really fun driving road. That's where I took the Gunther Works Speedster, one of the first places. It's big, sweeping turns and just amazing.
Wait, we're playing that now for the Gunther Works?
I just felt like playing it. Yeah.
You got to hold it closer to the mic. We need the full impact.
I am the voice of the audience, you see.
Right.
So.
There we go.
Like, we get it. You got to drive the Gunther Works.
Yeah. But
So anyway, I had been driving south on PCH and I saw this green Porsche turn from Newport Coast onto PCH, but it was far enough.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I saw Dan, I'm like, I saw Dan like an hour ago, but I didn't know.
And
it was
that
him.
guy, his car, everyone takes a picture of his car.
I know.
So anytime he's anywhere, I open Instagram. I guess you could flip the switch to
old people out
Instagram. Yeah. And his car's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
He always makes the Instagram reels.
he's got to have hit 100,000 now, hasn't he?
I think it's
90.
Just turned over 90, but yeah, super
Surely
fun.
he's been to like Denver and back since then.
He came, he left, he went back Saturday.
Yeah, I think
right
he sent me a
after
picture
Airwater.
from the road, right? And it was 9,009.
Wow.
Or I'm sorry, 90,009. It's not quite
So funny.
boobs
Close.
upside
Yeah.
down or whatever, but it's, it's
Right.
it's
Not
a lot
quite
of
a
balls. It's pretty
palindrome, but
impressive.
almost. Well, and Dan and I mean, that's what's so insane is that my official address is Seattle. Dan's is Colorado, and we run into each other at Crystal Cove regularly.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with that, but I'm so
Some people
happy.
have it figured out, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on it myself. But
So another event that was taking place in Southern California last weekend started with a damp outlook, didn't it? The air water
Yes.
started with more water. What was
Right.
going on?
Yeah, everybody was calling it like, okay, when it's just water this time. It was cool in the morning, and then it started spitting, and it was like, all right, well, and then just real downpour. So it definitely, it drove people inside. The nice thing about the fairgrounds is that it's a mix of interior and exterior. So especially Broad Arrow's the auction partner, and they have a big auction room where they hold it. So you could get in there and stay dry, be comfortable. And I actually got to go to the auction preview on Friday and just check everything out, which was nice because it's quieter. There's fewer people, and you can really see the cars. And like I got to catch up with some of the Broad Arrow and Haggerty people.
Nice.
And it was a good mix this year. They had a real 906, which was one of the cars that was featured in Ford versus Ferrari.
Okay.
But my favorite was an 87 dark blue turbo with like a marine and beige leather interior.
Wow.
I could not get enough of this car. And I thought, it was non-metallic.
So is this a 3.6 or something? Is this like a really special?
I think it was just a regular turbo. I mean,
okay.
Those are special, obviously. But
3.6 would have been later, I guess, 964. But
yeah, it was. I mean, I just it kept drawing me back to it. Like I'd go to walk away, and I'd realize I had walked back to this car. I mean, it was just stunning. But that
what
turned
was
out
it
to be
about the car? The color? Was it the
color was what drew me in, and then it was the dark blue, and it was a non-metallic blue.
Oh, interesting.
So and then the next day at Auto Kennel, there was a 996 dark blue turbo. So that was the energy of my weekend, was flat, non-metallic navy turbos, I guess. But it's just such a beautiful body style. It was very, it was a color still, but it was understated. Yeah. And it just, it really spoke to me. I mean, it seemed like you could just sort of be under the radar. It's very car enthusiast. Yeah. You could just drive it, and you could get attention if you wanted to, but you could also just
if you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a good
spot.
mix of that. Yeah. And then they had a yellow GT4 RS, which was beautiful. They had a silver Carrera GT. Those are always stunning to see. Another favorite was, I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, Porsche redid one of the Carrera GTs, took it down to the metal, took everything apart, and redid it so that it was as if they had built it, 3 or 4 years ago.
No, but
what it would be. And they finished it in this color that is, it's slightly less bright than like a Miami or Mexico blue. They called it Speedster blue.
Okay.
And it was very, it was all over, social media at the time. Broad Arrow auctioned it then, but it was actually there too.
Wow. Okay.
It's up for sale again. So I got to see it again.
This is familiar now. This is coming back to me. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a unique story. They had a 911E, which is that's kind of a cool story. They had a roof. And then I don't know if you remember the story of that. I think it was a Speedster that Jerry Seinfeld had bought that turned out to have some, it was the Franken car, the Oratium green. Yeah. So they had an 01 Oratium green Carrera 4 that's what was interesting this time, is a lot of the cars in the auction had really unique interiors. So it was fun.
There's a theme
plaid.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
They picked up on that at Retromobile. And
right. It was a little more visual interest. There was one really beautiful red 911, and it had the interior was a mix of this red and black houndstooth and then tan leather, which was a really interesting combination. Drew in the red from outside. And this Oratium green one had this beautiful green and blue plaid interior. So it was just a lot of interest, when you got up to the cars too, then it drew you in even further.
Well, didn't Porsche just announce that they're bringing Pasha back as a standard option?
I
read that. It's an extra. It's not standard.
Well, it's an extra, but sure, right. But it's not
it's available.
I think it's like $8,000 or something, isn't it?
Worth it.
I mean,
By
it
the
wouldn't
way,
surprise me.
When I saw Eric and Amity, she had a shirt on, a blouse that was Pasha, and it took me a second to realize, oh my God, that's.
I know what that is.
Yeah, sly.
Yeah.
You were staring at her blouse for 5 minutes trying to work it out with your own.
I was going to say I was looking eye to eye for 5 minutes, and then I happened to, There we go.
There we go. Did the general consensus to the auction, was it successful? Did most cars sell?
I haven't seen the numbers,
buy?
actually. Yeah. What did you buy? No. I mean, I was sorely tempted. But what I was going to say was it was fun to go to the preview on Friday and then get to walk around the grounds a little bit too, because they had a 935 that was in one of their, their iconic kind of platform displays. And they also had the AO Racing Rexy and Roxy dinosaur Porsches, those are my daughter's favorite. We love those. So I got to see those up close before the event. And yeah, I mean, it was fun. Well, got to see Trent Abbott, which is always a treat.
Cool.
Like, he's hilarious. And then Paul Kramer was there, Matt Farah. So Saturday, it was nice in the morning. I got there really early and then started to rain. But before it started raining, we got to see Matt Farah, Sarah Trimble, and then Peter Brotman, who is a friend of mine that I saw at Retromobile. So that was really fun. And he was just about to go on the Cal Mille. So he's going to have some more
I know him
stories.
from the Grand. So
Yeah, he's awesome. His Miura is my daughter's favorite car.
Awesome.
So he's a good guy.
Well, because I mean, it's almost like the people are the best part, right? Like with anything,
right?
It's the cars are just the kind of the
well,
expense,
and with the rain, it sort of illustrated that even more, because like it dampened it a little bit in the sense of you couldn't just move freely. You had to be a little more strategic, but it also didn't really, because you're running into people. I saw Dan McGinnis again. We had talked about it. He was going to be there. But my two favorite cars I should say two favorite displays. They had two of the GT3 RR, the Rennsport version that they debuted at the last Rennsport at Laguna Seca. So they had two of those. One was full carbon and one was this really beautiful blue, graphic livery, gorgeous. And then on the other side of the wall, they had a liquid cooled car. And then, have you heard of the artist? It's Joshua Vitas, and he does the black, it's white background and then black, like, he makes the cars look like drawings.
Like a cartoon car.
Yeah. And so they had
really
one of
cool.
his cars there, and I had seen, pictures and articles, like Derek Powell wrote an article about them. And it's the videos I'd seen, you see somebody get in and they start to drive it, and it's like an optical illusion. You're having to tell yourself it's a real car because of the effect and the impact it has. So they had one of those, and it was really cool.
Very cool.
So
Cool.
Yeah.
So air water, is this something that you feel like you need to go to every year? Is this because you can only do so many things each year, right? Is this
I think it is, because it's one of the few that's actually in Orange County.
Okay.
And I've known some of the people on the team over the years, and so that was, I wanted to go and support my friends, obviously, and and the Broad Arrow and the Haggerty team. I know a lot of that team as well. So it's also, again, going back to the people, like, it's a good way to see a bunch of people that are not normally in the same place all together,
right,
and catch up, which is really nice. But yeah, I mean, it's really nice because a lot of the events do take place in LA, which is still accessible for me, but it's much more of a drive. Like, to be able to go 15 minutes down the road and be at this one, and I went last year with my parents and my daughter, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to the event, because my parents' focus is more Ford and Shelby, and they left and they said that was delightful. Like, it was really fun. They put together good displays and the people.
Well, and I like the new stuff too. Like, I like the old stuff, but I also like the new stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's what I buy, right?
Well, and they had, what was cool this year, and I don't remember if they had this last year, but they had a Myers-Manx display in the mix, which was really fun. And they had.
All right, did you get?
There you go. I had, yes.
Avance magazine.
Yeah, which is.
Shout out Avance.
Well, and that was a recreation of a magazine cover from the 80s.
Oh, really?
That photo. It was a Carmen Ghia.
If you can't. Yeah, if you're not watching the video, and apparently very few of you do. Sorry about last week where there was no video. But it's the latest Avance magazine, and there's like a guy on a BMX bike, I don't know, about 12 feet up in the air, flying over a Myers-Manx with a man in the Myers-Manx who looks as amazed as he does afraid. But it's a great shot.
Cool mix.
Great photography, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah, so that one, Ryan, you got to go to Bassam's book launch with Myers-Manx, and so it's, again, I mean, we always say the car world is so connected people-wise, and even all the vehicles are so connected. So they had their bus, which was also featured in Ford versus Ferrari in the background.
Excellent.
And then they had three Manx. One had a radial engine, one had the 4-cam Porsche engine, and then one had the VW.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean, it's so fun. I got to meet Mike from Manx, and then Matt was there, and he's getting his radial, and so then he came over and they were talking about it, and and we got to see
Love that whole story.
Yeah, and we got to see his spec, and it's in process. So yeah, it was just really fun.
You just realize how important sound is in a car, right? And I just can't imagine what that sound right behind your head must be
Right?
like, right? I mean, you're like the Red Baron or something. I don't know.
I know
it'd be a
that
different
engine
experience.
in a vehicle that light.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be a hell of an experience
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Lots of fun. Shall I bring us back to reality for a little while?
Do we have to?
It's no fun, yeah.
You kind of have to. I think it's, we get all these great experiences, but also
I
our
know.
audience, they want advice, they want insights. So
They do.
And they came here?
Right. I mean, I guess
Our heads are in the clouds. Come on. It's-
the Last Chance Saloon. That's the car show. So I had a dilemma this week. I was down in LA for business meetings, and I got to the rental car lot. And I want to know what you guys would do. I'll explain my process afterwards. But
Right.
you get
You're
to the
going to give
rental
us
car
the
lot.
premise, yeah?
Yeah, you get to the rental car lot, and they say, right, here is your row, and you can pick any car from the row. And the row was right near the front, so it means it wasn't a great row. These are the sort of cars.
Immediately no.
I like it when
It's funny how we all understood. Yeah.
Yeah, but it
Car
was like
people
they
get
looked
it.
at me and said, "Yeah, just yeah," and it was like no walk at all, right? But the row consisted of a few cars, and I'll name them, and tell me like which would you pick? What's the one that really you would go for, and maybe even fight someone else with their luggage?
This was
try and
not
get
the
in first
president's
and grab the
circle.
keys.
Okay.
There's
This
a
is
rental car cage match going on.
president's
Rental
car
afterthought
cage
row.
Maybe we could make the next UFC millions out of that, right? So the cars were, and I say cars, they're kind of more like mini SUVs. The Hyundai Kona,
Okay.
Okay.
the Chevrolet Equinox,
Oh, no.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
Ryan has a story about that.
the Jeep Compass,
Yeah, also, oh, no.
the Kia Sportage. Yeah,
That's sounding better in this
I
this
know.
group. Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah.
sounds like cheese. Let's go. Kia fromage. Let's go.
the Ford Escape, or the Nissan Rogue. So
Oh,
what do you
man,
go
that is
for and
like
why?
or what was the last one? A Rogue?
A Nissan Rogue. It was like a Rogues Gallery, right?
I was going to
Yeah,
say.
this is
It's like the Reject Rogues Gallery.
it's like this is the worst
I
lineup
must
ever.
be
This
really
is-
careful here, right? Because 2 weeks before I went to Enterprise, and I'd used points, and I'd booked myself a Corvette, and I ended up driving off the parking lot in a brand new 911. So
Just-
Enterprise are great. Just this week I was on a budget.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. Sometimes you hit it and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
I will say, I was just talking to someone who has a Kona and had an EV before that and was raving about it. She said, for what it is, it's
Yeah.
very simple. It gets me around. It charges quickly. It's comfortable. It does a good job.
I do the
So-
Kona in that group too.
Yeah.
I've never
like, I would
driven it, but I've
definitely-
driven every other one of those. So my process of elimination, Kona it is.
Yeah.
I would
Are you
consider-
owner as well, Lindsay?
I would take the Kona. I did have a Jeep Compass, in 2015 as a rental car, and I had a little bit of I think I have a soft spot because I had a little bit of a Final Destination moment in that car where traffic suddenly came to a stop and I looked in the rearview mirror and there was a semi fishtailing towards me from
Wow.
behind. And I was able to get myself out of it. So the Compass, did its job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you go for the Compass, or would you go for...
I think I would go for the Kona because I would want to try something new.
Interesting.
Do you want to break down why each one of those models is awful?
Well,
much
I don't
time
think
do you
we've got enough time on the podcast, have we? But let me explain my process, okay?
Yeah. What did you go?
Yeah.
for?
So how did this all shake out?
Well, I landed in LA, and it's sunny.
It is.
So as I'm walking along the line, the first thing I'm looking for is a sunroof. I actually don't care what badge is on the front. Sunroof, and none of them had a sunroof.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm
Dun,
like,
dun,
okay.
dun.
So immediately,
Getting fresh off the 911.
fresh off the 911, which was
Yeah.
convertible.
Yeah.
Immediately, I ruled out the Equinox. I don't know why it just does not appeal to me. Maybe I'm a brand snob, I don't know, but like that was straight out the window. So then the Ford Escape, I've got friends who've had big engine problems with their Ford Escapes. So I was like, no.
Oh.
I'd actually take the Equinox over the Escape at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
I just haven't seen one of the current gen. Like, I drove one of the first generations for a bit, and I used to joke that it was made of Legos, and I love Legos. But
Yeah, those first generation ones were kind of cool, the boxy ones, but now they're just like they're like
they were just super
drive like
light.
they're dead.
Like,
yeah,
there wasn't
yeah.
a whole lot to it. No pickup.
Are we still talking Escape here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Not
was
much
it-
escape in the Escape.
No.
I once took one of those first generations off-roading and ripped off the whole underbody, and I returned it, and no one was the wiser. So I don't know if I do that in a new Escape, though. That's a little too
Statutes of
crossover than.
limitations? Does that mean that you're...
Well, that was like
Criminate
2004, right?
Oh, you're good.
Maybe earlier. Yeah.
You're good.
Was it an
Anyway,
Escape?
back to the.
Yeah, was it an Escape we took to Pikes Peak?
No, that
No, it
was
was an Edge,
That was
right?
an Edge.
Edge,
Yeah,
Edge.
That's
There we
not a
go.
terrible
Which is
car
the one
in this
above.
company. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
No, the edges are good.
yeah.
So the
Heard.
Equinox was out, the Escape was out, the Sportage was out. I'd had Rogues before, and I thought, well, what's going to be the most comfortable to sleep in? And
Where's
gotta
the
be the
buzzard,
Jeep
Ryan? We need
Buzzard,
our own
right?
buzzers.
Yeah,
We
you
can't
have to
talk
get a
about
Buzzard
sleeping in a
XV.
car.
But I went for the Jeep just because it's a known quantity. It's relatively comfortable.
Right.
Those aren't terrible.
Yeah, it was.
Well, and it's a
and
good amount of
it was
space.
fine. Yeah, it did the job great.
These
So,
these are like threes, right, for cars though. All of them, right?
Yeah,
These are
it was like a row 3. Like,
it's like slightly better than nothing. What was it in planes, trains, and automobiles? And he couldn't get a rental car. He's like, I'll take a Datsun, I'll take a Toyota, I'll take a Ford, I'll take anything, right? I mean, these are those cars, right?
Yeah.
You just need to get somewhere.
Right.
yeah. So,
In your case, a very important business meeting.
Yeah.
a really important business meeting. But so there's no wrong answer, right? I mean, anything is getting
no
you
right
from A
answer.
to B these days. Modern cars are good, but
Yeah.
But I mean, it's always interesting. Like, sometimes you really hit it, like with your 911, and sometimes you don't with the rental cars. I mean, I had one
Yeah.
a couple years ago in Monterey. I was chatting with the counter agent.
oh, I see. Are you the cutest rental travel agent in the world?
I bet you get that all the time. But I ended up getting a brand new 4Runner with only 900.
Well, there we
Oh,
go.
nice. I have yet to get a 4Runner from a rental counter.
Well, and then when I went back for Rentsport that year, the guy was still there, and I thanked him. I said it was so, really made the week. And he's like, well, I don't have that one, but I do have another one. Would you like it again? And I said, yes, I would.
Nice.
So the lesson
This one's a
there is go
TRD
rent
Pro. That's
Right. No,
Go
the
rent with
first one
Lindsey.
was.
She'll work her magic and charm.
right. This is
Yeah.
why we all need to travel together.
Yeah. Eli at the Hertz counter in Monterey.
Eli, what's up,
Amazing.
Eli? You know Eli probably listening, so
Right. Obviously. So I had to say hi.
He's manager now.
He's got all the
Actually got
4Runners.
fired after slipping these 4Runners to all the pretty ladies. That's,
Costing the rental company too much money.
right?
Yeah.
Shoot.
Oh, man. It's a good time.
wow.
Yeah, rental cars are
If you-
always, it's a weird lottery.
Well, if you've flown into Monterey like for Car Week, it's a tiny airport, right?
Right.
Like I mean, it's in notoriously bad rental cars because
Oh,
they're
yeah?
just like beaten to crap and lots
Well, I think
lots
they-
of threes in that rental fleet.
I think they step it up for Car Week because when I
Yeah,
was walking
not for-
down
not
the
for
row,
me.
there was a Maserati.
Oh, there was
There was,
Dan.
there were,
It's calling
know.
siren song.
I actually think that Eli was showing Lindsay a different part of the parking lot to where we went to.
Yeah, that was just somebody's car.
no, you
That was
guys
his
no,
own
no, no.
car. That was
Yeah, I think we got the budget end of the car park.
right.
But yeah, car
funny.
rentals. What can you do? It's
funny.
I've got an English phrase when I go to my check-in at the car rental, and I just say, "Have you got anything fun?" And usually they kind of go, "Okay, well, this person might be a car person. Let's see what we can find out for them."
Well, aren't you pulling the "I'm a car journalist" thing like I did?
I'm not as well published as you, Ryan, unfortunately.
Five articles I'm up to. Come
There
on,
we go.
at what point is it official? But I think you
I
should.
think when you
Now.
can count
Slide
them
over
on
one
your
of those new
hands
stickers.
and toes. Yeah. I work with Ryan Barkey. I'll try that next time.
yeah. You may have heard of a little show called That Car Show.
I don't know if you know, I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, also I'm British.
That's got to count
Parish
for
notes
something.
and all the rest.
The adventures in car rentals continue. Watch out for the next installment.
Sorry.
Right.
Also, do you have anything fun as a Britishism?
I don't know whether it is or not, but
Oh, okay, okay.
It kind of feels like the person at the car rental place is like, oh, well, maybe this person's a car
I see.
person. Maybe we might,
More of a car. Okay.
like to surprise and delight or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, let's just throw down this as a challenge, right? The next time we travel, okay, fly to an airport or something, get a rental car. Who can come back with the best rental car without paying extra?
Yes, that's the key.
Okay, so it's an ongoing challenge.
Yeah, so it might not be, I'm not going anywhere tomorrow, but, maybe next month or maybe next week.
That makes one of us. No.
And we need to make sure that Eli's not included in this, or else we're going to lose straight away, right?
I can't leverage my resources. Is that what you're
Right?
saying?
Well, Eli, I'll never forget that name now. That's a good one,
Yeah.
right? That's
Well,
an
and he was
easy one.
so nice, and just super helpful. And it really did. I mean, because it was a brand new car practically. And, you hear things about Forerunners, especially the first gen, like underpowered and whatever. This one was perfect all the way around.
Well, Eli, we'll see you in August, buddy.
Yeah. I love it.
First to see him. I test drove a car last week.
Oh, what did you drive?
So, how sometimes you kind of look at a car and you're like, I wonder if it drives as it looks.
Yeah.
And I managed to get the keys too. And I don't know if we should use a buzzer here because it's me saying it, not you, Lindsey.
Oh.
But the Bronco Raptor.
Oh, wow.
Or the Braptor.
Braptor.
And it's a divisive car, divisive truck.
Okay, so
isn't
what
it?
did you think, Dan?
Yeah, so my expectations were incredibly high.
Yeah.
I told a couple of friends that I was going to test it, and both of them said exactly the same thing. You won't
Independently
like
of
it,
each
it's
other.
too big. Yeah, it's
Oh.
too big for you. You won't like it, it's too big.
So were you
So-
test driving it with an eye to possibly purchasing one, or was it just the opportunity to drive it?
Yeah,
This is just what Dan does for fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
me
wind
too.
up
That's why
helping people.
That's why I'm clarifying.
So I was thinking about swapping in the Audi and the Corolla and getting one do-it-all car.
Yeah.
So it's something that has performance, that you can take the top off and, can store your tyres, all that sort of. I'm not sure whether you get the tyres from the Bronco in the Bronco because I think they're
Not on the
37
Raptor.
inch. Yeah, 37
those
inch
are-
tyres.
It's almost
anyway-
like Rambo size.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're massive. So anyway, I went to the dealer and I'd specifically asked for a used Bronco Raptor to test drive. I get there and the dealer has the brand new car waiting for me. So clearly he's already thinking about the upsell.
Right.
So I'm like, how many miles have you got on this thing? I'm really happy to drive the used one. And he's like, oh no, it's here now. So we get out to the car park, and this thing was, you have to climb up into it. And Lindsey, you drove one at the
I did
Seattle
at
Auto Show, didn't
the
you?
Seattle Auto Show when we were there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you almost need to take some crampons with you to get into this thing because it's so high. So that was the first thing. I didn't realize how high they are. And you then get in it and, it's very familiar, forward controls, paddles, all that sort of stuff. You've got all sorts of extra buttons for auxiliary things like lights, etc. But you're pretty high up, you're kind of truck level high up there. So took it down the road. My expectations were that this thing was going to really, really rip. And it didn't really, really rip.
And it did not.
No, I mean, you think that because it's got the Raptor brand associated with it, right?
Yeah.
And it was nippy, but it wasn't like, I was kind of like hoping for a kind of, holy shit, this is quick,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. Like blow your hair back.
Well, it's
kind of.
not
Yeah.
500 horsepower, right? It's like 470 or something, right? It's not
It's
crazy
a
power.
V6, isn't it? They
Right,
didn't put a
right.
V8 in it because it
But
wouldn't fit.
Right, but the V6s are faster than the V8s, if I'm not mistaken.
Is
Oh,
it the
they-
V6? Is it
Raptor-
an EcoBoost?
I'm not sure now. You're testing me. I remember it was a V6.
I don't even know what EcoBoost means, honestly. I
It's
think it's
the
just the
turbo.
turbo, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the name that they came up with for the V6 turbo
It's
engine. That's what's
ecologically
in-
boosted.
Yeah. That's what's in my truck.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know what it was, but anyway, so this thing, it didn't rip like I wanted it to rip. It didn't, I can imagine it handles really well in the sand. I can imagine that you just don't realize that you're going over sand, etc. When
Which,
Right.
which I
Like it
care
just
about
handles it.
not at all.
right. And how often do you find
Yeah,
sand in
yeah.
the car park, right?
You
But
guys are going to the wrong car parks. Let's be honest.
right. I hate to admit it to JF Lincoln and everyone else that told me, but it was just too big. It's just
But
Really?
is that because it's the Raptor and you're like extra wide, or would the
Yeah.
standard Bronco? Because you can't get the Raptor with the manual, right? But you can the regular. Bronco?
correct. But the width, it's got extra width.
Even
and
with the
it's-
standard, it's just okay. Because
Yeah.
in my mind's eye, they're closer to like a Wrangler, but I guess they're not. I've never driven one.
The Raptors they have a volume
just-
to them because
okay.
of the additional
Just
like
everything.
the fenders and the
Yeah.
tires
Okay.
are bigger.
Yeah.
Everything
True. Good point.
everything it's like jet puffed a little bit.
So last week it was constipated. This week it's
Just
jet
like
puffed.
me.
Love it. Absolutely
Like
love it.
the Stay Puft Marshmallow Bronco.
I can imagine
Guys,
if you're
I
in
had a
Montana. If you're in Montana or if you're somewhere like where there is a lot of space, I can imagine it's a great car.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just wasn't for Seattle.
Well, and if you're, when you look at where you're going to be driving it, you don't want to have to pause at parking garages and
Right.
think,
Right.
am I going to
right.
fit?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
You want to be out mending fences in that thing.
right.
Right.
Well, and I know it's interesting, Dan, because I know we talked about it at the time, and I was also very excited to try it out and had high expectations. And that was probably one of the most interesting car test drive days for me because I drove the F-150 Lightning, the Raptor, the Explorer ST, and then the Mach-E GT. And if I had to rank them ahead of time, probably the Bronco and the Lightning would have been tied in what I expected to be first, and then the Explorer, and then the Mach-E. And the Mach-E was my favorite, and the Bronco was my least favorite.
And what's a Bronco? What's a Raptor go for? Is it about 70, 80?
It's a bit weird at the minute. I don't
Okay.
even want to answer that. But
No, I don't know, actually.
So to counteract the tariffs, Ford are doing something called employee pricing.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're getting, I think, between 15 and 20% off.
Okay.
But
that's
also,
great.
these cars aren't selling. So, so there are bigger deals to be had on these things. So I think you could pick a new one up for probably about 85,
Okay.
but an MSRP would be about 100.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot available at that price point, as we know. And I think that's maybe
Yeah.
the thing working against it the most. I mean, you're talking about, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
G-Wagon. I mean, you're getting
Well,
close to, what's a G-Wagon start at?
The Jeep has the, what you call it, is it the 392?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would
Also,
be,
like, kind of panned, though. Like, people never really got
Yeah.
crazy about those.
but I think people like that because it is a V8, right, versus the V6. You could have something very quick from Porsche.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. The G-Wagon starts at $148,000.
So nearly double. Okay.
Yeah. Ryan's ability to stay with the common people is
Lord.
drifting apart slowly.
Hashtag unrelatable.
Well, I've never priced the basic, the base
Right.
G-Wagon. It's
course.
the G63 or nothing. So.
Well, and I will say when I did the women's off-road day at Dirtfish with Avance, there were several Raptors there, and they were amazingly capable. Like they
Yeah.
chewed up the course. The people had so much fun driving them. They looked really cool.
Yeah,
So I think it's one of those too where
they do look cool.
they're really designed to be off-road and that kind of thing. And so when you drive it on the street, it's a little neutered. You're not really fully experiencing what it's been designed to do.
Yeah.
But that's,
Potential, yeah.
but that's tricky because if you're going to have one car, you're going to be driving it in context that it wasn't necessarily driven for if it's a purpose designed vehicle like that.
Yeah,
And you want to be able to enjoy it, especially people like us.
Right.
right.
I do not have an assistant. I have to type my questions in. I don't have
Yeah.
You'll get there one day, Ryan. I believe in you.
yeah, I'm sorry. Now I'm punching in G550 prices and it's talking about Gulfstreams, and that's a whole other. But according to this, an AMG is only 40,000 more. So why limit yourself to the G550? Just saying.
Aim high.
So,
I mean, while we're at it,
right.
that's pretty funny. Well, and one thing, speaking of like crazy cars, there was one last little footnote I wanted to say about all of my visits to Crystal Cove. I met a group of young kids. I mean, they're probably 18-ish, but young as far as compared to me. But, there's a big discussion, and we've all talked about this, about like our kids interested in cars these days. And kids not getting their licenses and whatever. And these kids were so fun and so enthusiastic, just like true car people. One of them was named Kendall, and she has a Supra that's wrapped half and half hot pink and matte black. And she ended up walking us around the car and showing us all the little Easter eggs. And they had put, stickers under the wrap, and then they put the wrap on so it looks like it's embossed.
Wow.
And just super cool. And then one of her friends has a Mercedes convertible that's covered in purple Muppet hair.
Oh boy.
So very distinctive.
Yeah.
Very
Hey,
fun.
good on them. Good on them.
I know.
Yeah,
They were just, and then, it was very fun and very, good to see, like, okay, the next generation is alive and well, and kids are still into cars. And
yeah,
all of that.
absolutely. 100%, 110%. They are.
Yeah, super fun. And then we saw him the next day, and we're like, oh my gosh.
How do you wash that thing?
Oh, that was the thing. So we saw it Saturday, and they're like, it's a little dirty from the rain. It had gotten rained on, so all the fur was kind of deflated.
I mean, do you use like detergent then, like laundry detergent?
It's like conditioner.
Yeah, to get people from getting dry and brittle.
That.
Yeah.
Like, come on. But yeah, so car girl Kendall with a K. She was very
right
fun.
on. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were about to swap out the fur.
The kids
for
are all
different
right,
color.
aren't they?
Exactly. The kids are all right. Whew.
Have we got a show title in that?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think I used that once for the road show.
The kids are all right.
The steering
and,
committee or something. Yeah. That's,
Muppet Mercedes.
Yeah, Muppet hair.
Yeah.
I think we're at a show, aren't we, folks?
I think we are.
What do you think, Ryan?
we can keep talking all night.
I think
I'm all hopped up on NA beers. I mean, let's just getting going.
I got at least a half a case of non-alcoholic beer left. What am I supposed to do with it?
Well, no, he's going to knock 3 of those over at least, isn't he? So for
2 down, 1 to go.
For our listeners, let us know where else we should introduce the buzzer. I'm thinking Dan McGuinness.
Yes.
And maybe Derek Powell, because they seem to come up a lot in this week's episode.
And maybe Crystal Cove.
Crystal Cove. I mean, we could end up with a show that's just buzzer.
It's
Right?
One for every time I spill a beer. That's
Yeah. Well, it's like, John and Justin had to do that AI show. We may have to fall back on just a show that's entirely the buzzer if we have an issue.
Well, noises.
We'll get there.
So that's a show, I think. Who is going to leave us with our famous catchphrase?
Ryan, would you like to?
This is That Car Show. Always be driving.
That's
Till
right.
next time.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Until next
guys.
time. Thanks, everyone.
We'll see everybody next week.